Most of us tend to think about creation like a straight line, right? There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. Simple. But what if it's not a line at all? What if it's a loop? Today, we're going to dive into this really fascinating model, drawn right from verses in the Quran, that paints a picture of existence as a seven-stage journey, a cycle that's constantly repeating. So let's really start with that question. Think about it. What if our whole idea of a beginning, middle, and end, what if that's just, one way of looking at it? What if the entire universe, and maybe even more importantly, our own souls, are on a path that's designed to loop right back to the very beginning? Okay, to help us wrap our heads around this idea, we're going to use a really cool metaphor, the Mobius loop. You've probably seen one. It's that twisted strip of paper that looks like it has two sides, but it actually only has one. If you start tracing a line, you'll go all the way around and end up right back where you started, but kind of on the other side, without ever lifting your pen. It's the perfect picture for the journey we're about to map out, a cycle where the end is literally woven into the beginning. All right, so if this is a journey, it's got to have a starting point. Where does this whole cosmic loop kick off? Let's dive right into stage one. So the foundation of absolutely everything, according to this verse, is water. It's this primordial, original state, the very thing the divine throne rests upon. And what's really key here is that the purpose is stated right from the get-go. This whole thing, it's a test. And this is where we start to see these two incredible parallel journeys. On a cosmic level, water is this state of pure, untapped potential and mercy. But for our own souls, it's that innate purity we're all born with, that fitra, our built-in connection to the divine before life throws all its tests at us. The big takeaway? Everything at its absolute core begins from a place of mercy. Okay, and so the loop turns, and that brings us to stage two. So out of that formless, potential-filled water, something new starts to emerge. The verse talks about creating the earth, and in the model we're exploring, this is the emergence of light. So light here represents the very first moment of distinction, of something taking shape. Cosmically, think of it like when Adam was created from clay, something with form being separated from the formless. And for the soul, well, this is that amazing spark of consciousness. It's that moment of the divine covenant, when all souls were asked, "Am I not your Lord?" And they replied, "Yes." It's our very first moment of awareness. All right, let's move on to the next stage, because this is where the story really starts to build. Stage 3, this is where conflict enters the system. And there it is, the introduction of fire. And it comes through the voice of Iblis, right? The one who, out of pure pride, refused to bow to Adam. His argument? You made me from fire and him from clay. And just like that, the element of pride and separation is injected into creation. So fire becomes the symbol for the descent into trial. It brings duality and challenge into the cosmos. And for the soul's journey, this is the fundamental test of the ego, the nafs. It's that moment we all have to face over and over again. Will we let our pride win, or will we choose humble submission? Okay, so let's do a quick recap of where we are. We've gone from water, that unified state of mercy, to light, where form emerges, and now into fire, the start of our trial. It's a journey downwards, you could say, from pure unity into this complicated world of testing. But the journey's not over. The loop continues to turn, and now it takes us even deeper into the material world with stage 4. Here, the verse talks about the earth being ordered and prepared. You've got mountains, rain, trees, all the sustenance is measured out. This is the stage of formation. It's where the physical world as we know it is fully established. So cosmically speaking, this is the stable, life-supporting planet we live on. But for the soul, this is our full immersion in the material world. This is where we experience it all, the wins and the losses, the good times and the tough times. These are the very things that are meant to shape and mold our character. You could say this is the very heart of the test. Okay, now at stage 5, there's a shift. The loop begins its upward turn. We start moving away from the purely physical world of form, back towards the unseen. And the key element here is smoke. The heaven is described as being like smoke at this point, a kind of primordial mix of stuff, not yet formed, just waiting for a command. And what's so fascinating here is the parallel to our own lives. Cosmically, the smoke is just this state of potential. But for the soul, have you ever felt like that? It's that state of confusion, of contemplation, That kind of internal fog you feel right before you find clarity, right before you make a conscious choice to submit to something bigger than yourself. All right, the loop keeps cycling onward, and it leads us out of that state of smoke and into the clarity of stage 6. So out of that smoky potential, order is created. 7 heavens are completed, and the lowest one is decorated with lamps, which we know as the stars. And they're not just there to look pretty, they are instruments of guidance. I mean, this just perfectly illustrates the connection between the physical and the spiritual. Just like the stars give us physical light to find our way in the dark, the soul receives spiritual light through prophets, through revelation, to light up the path back home, back to the source. And finally, after all of that, we arrive at stage 7. This is the completion of the journey. This is where the loop closes. The most important point here is that both of these journeys, the cosmic one and the soul's one, they end exactly where they began. The entire universe and every single soul is destined to return to its creator. It's just like the Quran says, to Allah we belong and to Him we will return. The test is over, the loop is complete. And this brings this huge cosmic model right down to a very personal, very real level. If this whole 7-stage journey, from that pure, merciful potential down into the fire of trial and all the way back up to the source, if that's the pattern for every single one of us, then our personal challenge becomes crystal clear. When we get to that critical 3rd stage, that test of fire, how do we, you and I, break the cycle of pride and choose submission to make sure our return journey is a successful one?